please subscribe, hit that like button, and as always, leave a comment, and thank you for enjoying the video.
Shot to right, slicing toward the pesky pole, down the line, and he's going to be out of here! Line down the right field line toward the pesky pole, leaping up, and that ball is gone! That's a home run! A lot of our Nesson team as well. High fly down the right field line, headed toward the pesky pole. That one tucked in, and that ball is going to be against the wall and into second base. Number retired, and now Rafael Devers trying to retire that baseball inside the pesky pole.
Good, and I want to say welcome everybody to the Pesky Podcast. I know many of you are expecting to see the Rit tonight, but the Rit's a little bit under the weather. So I have with me our other co-host, DC, and a very special guest, Ryan LaFleur from the WooSox ground crew. First off, DC, how you doing, buddy?
Doing all right. COVID made its appearance with my stepdaughter, and obviously came to us too. So just glad that the weekend's here, though. How you doing?
Hang in there, bro. Hang in there, brother.
Yeah.
Ryan, how are we doing?
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. How we doing, Ryan?
I'm doing pretty well. Thanks for having me on with you guys.
Terrific. So, we're really excited to have you on tonight because I think everybody kind of would love to find out what you guys are all about and, the kinds of things you have to do for the game. So why don't you take a little bit of time and talk about, how you all got started and, how you were introduced to the WooSox.
Yeah, so I got introduced to the WooSox. So before coming to Worcester, I was with so we had a couple names, but I was in Norwich with the minor league team over there. Norwich Navigators before I got there. Then when I got there, it was Connecticut Defenders, then Connecticut Tigers. And then right around the time when I was leaving, they were one of the teams that unfortunately was contracted from minor league baseball. And they do independent ball there now with the name of the Norwich Sea Unicorns. So I was over there for quite a while, starting out as game day, grounds crew guy, then intern, assistant, head guy, as the years kind of went through. One of our vendors that we used for our material that we would put out on the field, like our pesticides, fertilizers, stuff like that. It's a company named Tom Irwin. And my rep there was a gentleman by the name of Chris Neal. And he also knew Elliot Lindstrom, who is the head superintendent now in Worcester. So when the team moved from Pawtucket to Worcester, the previous groundskeeper decided not to make the move. So it was kind of late in the process. So they were kind of looking around. Elliot has ties with both the New England Patriots. He worked at Gillette, but he also worked with Dave over at Fenway. So Dave Meller. So through different connections, he ended up getting the job there. He was scrambling around looking for an assistant. And Chris Neal, who knew both of us, basically reached out to me. He's like, hey, this guy, Elliot, he's going to be taking over in Worcester. He's looking for an assistant. You want to maybe, you want me to pass your name along? I was like, yeah, sure. We'll see if anything comes of it. A couple weeks went by. Elliot gave me a call, talked on the phone for a little bit. I went over to Worcester to meet with him. And then, I started May 3rd in 2021. And our first game was, I want to say like May 10th, May 11th, something like that. So, and Elliot only really started a couple weeks before me. So we were both kind of thrown in there. When he first started, they didn't have, I think he had a mower. That was about it. There no real material hadn't made its way yet. All the equipment that we would eventually get hadn't made its way over there yet. So, we were thrown in right into the fire.
Oh wow! Way to get your feet on the ground, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
So, that was the first year that Worcester was the AAA club for the Sox.
Yep.
You talked about having a lack of material. How many people did you have to go recruit to, get started to put a field crew out there?
Yeah, so when Elliot started, there was a couple kids there that were kind of like holding down the fort. So we ended up keeping them on. There was about 3 guys there when I started, that 3 guys that were like just like on like kind of the game day crew. And then we got so lucky and blessed that first year that some of the guys that were on the crew went to Clark University, just literally just down the road in Worcester. And they basically like, hey, I know a kid that I go to school with that can come and help out. Sure, bring him. Then they were like, hey, we got another buddy that wants to come on the crew. Yeah, sure, bring him. So we ended up getting to about that first year, maybe 10, maybe about 12 guys or so. Probably half of them all knew each other. They went to school together at Clark, and they were all like great workers, no complaints about any of them. And like we got so lucky because I've seen in other places it can be difficult just getting guys that can devote the time, because we obviously work kind of untraditional hours, I would say. So we got really lucky that first year and we just kind of kept bringing guys on that could help. And yeah, we somehow we ended up getting through it with a pretty darn good crew.
Excellent. So, when the season starts, how many people do you have in your crew now, or do you expect to have them?
Yep. So yeah, we're actually just doing the process right now. We still got a couple spots to fill. We're still interviewing a couple guys. Had a couple interviews yesterday. Another 1 or 2 coming up next week. We eventually get to around 18, maybe 20 guys, which is pretty large for a minor league crew. Our basically we do that so that we have we have kids in school that aren't starting till May, and then they got to go back to school in September or in August or September. So we know people already have plans committed. They're going to go on family vacations and stuff like that. So we try to get as much of a crew that we can kind of pick and choose. So if guys are away, it's just kind of plug and play and just throw them in there. They know what they're doing. On a typical game day, assuming the weather is clean, that obviously rain would change everything. But if it's a normal clean weather day, we have about 3 guys in the morning for a shift. And then we have about 6 guys that come in later in the afternoon and work the game. And then an hour and a half or so after the game, they'll probably go.
So, on a typical day or night, depending upon, what you're doing after, how long do you get there before the game? The process, the rituals, the kind of thing that, goes into making sure the players can play on the field. And
so for me personally, so like I said, Elliot is our head field superintendent. Him and I are there all day. So we're there 8 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning. Maybe it works out that I might get there a couple hours later and he'll leave a little early. But on a normal day, we're both there around like 8 to 9 o'clock. And we leave 11:30, midnight, something like that. So homestand for Elliot and myself, we're looking at around anywhere between like 90 to 105 hours or so at the park. A typical day, I'll try to there's a lot, but I'll try to give you just kind of Cliff's Notes version. So in the morning, our morning crew guys are working on the mound and plate. So they're completely redoing that, gauging it, making sure everything is like up to spec and everything like that. Elliot is probably mowing somewhere on the field. He's the grass guy. I'm the dirt guy. So I'm working on the infield dirt. We call it the infield skin. So I'm working on that. I'm scraping it, dragging it. Spend most of my day just trying to get the moisture level dialed in because it's such a high clay count in there. Right. So it takes a lot of water. So I'm watering 6-7 times a day, something like that. Wow. So most of my morning is spent on the infield skin. By the time the guys are done doing the mound and plate, we work on the warning track, clean the bases from the night before, clean the batting practice bases from the day before. We have a lot of pregame stuff in Worcester, so we end up having to set up like a little corral behind home plate to keep all like the ceremonial stuff like off the field. So we're setting that up in the mornings as well. Because there's tours going on a lot at Polar Park. So we also kind of kind of block them off a little, corral them off a little bit, so they're not going where like to kind of get in our way or anything like that. So we're working on that. Take a very quick lunch. Sometimes we get
not at all.
Yeah, exactly. Then we're right back out on the field. Basically, depending on the team schedule, we're dealing with like batting practice. Usually batting practice, like they'll do infield, outfield around 3 or so, then go into hitting. Sometimes they do early work and do early hitting just for like a couple guys will come out and hit off a machine like at 1:30, something like that. Our guys love that because it's usually just a coach and a player. So our guys on our crew get to go out and shag fly balls for early work. And it's like
very cool.
It's one of their like favorite part. Like they will volunteer, like they go out there with gloves and like they're making plays and everything like that. So that kind of goes through batting practice. Will go into the pregame. During batting practice, we'll have another crew come in. They overlap just because there's so much going on between BP and pregame. So the other crew comes in. Guys, they go to the bullpens because both teams during BP will have guys throwing side sessions in the bullpen and stuff. So once they're done, they're packing the mounds, putting clay in, getting those back to the way they were in the morning. Pre-game is kind of organized chaos. We're breaking down BP, taking the field mats off, taking the screens back, taking the turtle, the batting cage, bringing that back to the tunnel. Also doing our pre-game, putting the string down, painting the lines, dragging the infield again, watering for seventh, eighth time that day. Then eventually we get to the game where we can kind of take a little bit of a breather. We're basically right on the side of the third base dugout. We sit right down there on the field. So we're always have some of us down there in case anything happens during the game that we need to go out and like base pops out or the mound needs some attention or something like that. So we'll drag the infield a couple times, end of the third inning, end of the sixth inning. Hopefully not the end of the ninth inning or 12th inning, but every 3 innings we go out there and we'll drag the infield. And then post game, like I said, we're there for about an hour and a half ish. So we are completely stripping the mound of the material that's on there, the top dressing of an infield conditioner that's on there. Same thing with the batter's boxes and catcher's box. We're picking up any like dirt or clay chunks that made its way into the grass. We're picking that up. We're vacuuming the edges. We're dragging the infield, nail dragging the infield, fixing the bullpens again. So it kind of gives us a head start on the next day. And then we finish each day by literally flooding the infield. We'll water it one last time and we leave it. So it's a lake. It's like standing water everywhere. And then that absorbs and soaks in overnight so that it doesn't dry out and crack on us. And it's ready to go in the morning for just the whole thing over again. Rinse and repeat.
So, do you ever have to do like special themes? I know like at Fenway, they do different cuts in the outfield and things like that, or do you have to do very special things for themes and stuff like that during a homestand?
Yeah, we switch it up every once in a while. It's healthier for the grass to not do the exact same pattern all the time. So, Elliot, we have about 3 or 4 that we kind of cycle through during the year. Nothing too crazy. We've talked about doing some other little bit more creative things out there, but a lot of it comes down to just time management as well. It's better to just go out there, put the pattern in, mow, and then Elliot can come and help with other stuff going on, like on the infield. He can give me a hand or something like that, rather than spending 4, 5, 6 hours out there mowing. But yeah, we have about 4 or 5 different patterns that we kind of cycle throughout the year.
Excellent. Yeah, if it's working, don't mess with it, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever gotten any requests from managers, players, umpires, even about, they'd like to see something different? Pitchers like, hey, can you do this at the mound? I'm the starter today. I like the landing zone to be this. Those kinds of things. An umpire going, hey, the grass on the third base side's a little long here,
Yeah, we haven't gotten that. We haven't gotten that, but we have had some, not even really requests, but we talk to the players and coaches constantly just to see how the field's playing, what they like, maybe it was a little bit softer this day, which could have been a variety of reasons. It could have been humid. It could have like held onto the water, like the infield skin or whatever.
Mhm.
Usually most of the position players have had like almost zero complaints, other than maybe like, oh, it played a little softer today, but they understand like it might have rained the night before or something like that. Occasionally some of the pitchers will say like, oh, the landing spot kind of like dug out a little bit more than it normally does. So the next day we'll just make sure we tamp it better. We use
Right.
a compactor, a play compactor. It doesn't happen a lot, but we do ask them. We want to make sure they're getting the best like surface that they can have to play on,
Right.
But yeah, we talk to them. We're right by, like I said, the visitors dugout. So we talk to the visiting team as much because we have a great relationship with our coaching staff, with Chad Tracy and like all those guys with the WooSox. But it
Mhm.
is good to hear guys like from other teams that are like coming from other places to see how they like how the field plays. And usually, like knock on wood, it's been very positive feedback from them. But yeah, there's a few guys from around the league, a few visiting managers that they're here for a week at a time, so we play
Sure.
6 games on with an entire series. So we get to know the guys and we kind of get comfortable asking them questions. And
Mhm.
yeah, we trust their feedback and we have to go by it. Obviously, it's great to get positive feedback, but if there is an issue, we definitely want to know, because you don't know what to fix if you don't know that it needs to be fixed. So we try to keep the dialogue open with everybody across the league.
So I know you guys have a video out there. So what inspired that video, and is there going to be another one?
Which video?
There's on the field. Rit tells me made a note here. There's a video called "When's the next video?" Who inspired that video?
Okay, so is it on YouTube?
Yes.
Yeah. So a couple of years ago in the 2022 season is when I kind of took over the grounds crew social media type of stuff. So
Mhm.
took over the Twitter account. I made an Instagram account, and then I started just making like recording with videos, and I ended up making like a YouTube page. So we had about 10 or 11 episodes of videos that year. I admittedly slacked off this last year. I'm hoping to get back to making some more videos, some upcoming videos this year. Twitter and Instagram is still very active. We have a pretty good following with that, but people, which is great to hear, but people do ask me all the time, like, hey, how come there hasn't been any videos, or how come there hasn't been anything? So we try to keep it light for the guys, because we have a lot of like hard physical work. So it's little things like that I know the guys kind of get a kick out of, like doing some fun like editing and stuff like that. We introduced a championship belt for the guys on the crew. So we have like literally we would like have a winner and he would have to defend the belt just like a boxer or a wrestler, just like with weird things like playing darts, Connect Four, tic-tac-toe, bowling,
Oh,
just
yeah.
little things like that, like just odd, like just make something up, like, hey, who can throw the ball closest to the base? And so we would have like a grounds crew champion with like a legit leather gold like championship belt that you would see it on the majority of any of those YouTube videos.
Cool. So like a little mini Olympic Games for the guys to keep their skills
Exactly.
sharp,
Yeah.
right?
Each video is anywhere like 10 to 15-ish minutes. Maybe one or two of them might have been a little bit longer just because I kind of got carried away with editing or something like that. But yeah, it's just something for the guys to kind of look back on, like on their summer and stuff like that, and kind of laugh about some of the better, like funnier, like good times in between, like going out there in the rain and having to pull tarp
Stuff like that. Sure.
yeah, yeah.
You're talking about rain. Doubleheaders happen. You want
Yeah.
to talk about what life is like in the blender for that?
Yeah, so actually double headers, I don't mind double headers, assuming that the day of the double header, all the rain is passed. Dealing with the double header with lingering rain is not as fun, but basically a double header is 2 7-inning games with about a half hour, 35 minutes in between. So usually that first game starts about an hour before it was originally scheduled. So those 2 7-inning games end up being more or less about the same amount of like the day ends up being about the same length as if it was just the 1 9-inning game.
Mhm.
But really, yeah, the only real difference is we just have that extra, a lot of like condensed work. We basically have to do the entire morning's work again in 30 minutes, minus like the mowing. So that's why we try to get extra guys there. We have, instead of maybe 6 guys, we have the 2 crews overlap.
Mhm.
So 3 in the morning plus 6 or however many we need for the doubleheader. So
Right.
we're redoing the mound, we're redoing the plate, we're doing the infield, we are dragging. If we need to, we're watering again. We're repainting the boxes. It's just chaos. The entire morning is just condensed into another 30-minute session, basically, and then the rest of it is all the same
I'm trying to
afterwards.
do it. Oh,
Yeah,
there
there
we
you
go.
go.
There we
That
go.
yeah,
We
that was
found
our
it.
first champion. He won that's the belt. Dan Turgeon. He's still on the crew. He's back for his 4th season this year. I just saw him this morning, and he was our very first champion. Yeah.
Excellent. So we have people working in the background trying to find out what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So let's take a step back. How did you get involved in groundskeeping and stuff
Yeah,
like that?
I kind of accidentally stumbled my way into it, to be honest with you. The smart and correct way to do it is how Elliot did it. He went to UConn and studied for it and got a degree and kind of did the smart way. I was younger. I was looking for a job, and like I said, so Dodd Stadium in Norwich, Connecticut, they were having a job
Mhm.
fair. So I went there that day, and I remember I got stuck in terrible, terrible traffic. I almost missed it. I thought about turning around at some point when like traffic was so bad that people were like literally just like getting out of their cars on the highway and just like mingling
Oh,
around
wow.
with each other. There was like a accident or something miles up the road, but eventually I got there and there weren't many people left. But one of the guys that was there is friend of mine named Mike Foley. He was the assistant groundskeeper at the time. And we just kind of started talking about like, oh man, did you hit the traffic and stuff like that? And he just kind of took a liking to me. And he's like, hey, would you think about coming to work on the grounds crew? And like to me, I was like, oh man, that sounds awesome. I wasn't going there specifically for that. I was just looking for a job, but that's looked like a lot better to me than doing some of the other things. No, nothing against those things, but for me, being a lifelong baseball fan, like, oh, I get to be on the field. I bet, I get to like
Oh,
work
yeah.
outside, which I like. So I just kind of started talking to him and he brought me on. And that first year I was a game day, just a game day guy. I remember and just like the bug bit me. And so when there would be times where, I guess I can say this now, but there were times where, my shift would end and I would say like, hey, do you guys still need help? I'll just stick around. Like, don't worry, I'm off. I'll clock out. I just want to stay and help.
Mhm.
And, Mike and the head guy there, his name is Mike Canistra. They were like, yeah, just don't get hurt if you're off the clock. So yeah, I just kind of stayed there. They brought me back the next season as one of their interns. Then a year or so after that, I became an assistant there with a gentleman by the name of Paul Lopez. Um,
Mhm.
and then we went through an ownership change. So we were an affiliate of San Francisco.
Right.
San Francisco left and Detroit came in. I talked to the new ownership. Went and introduced myself, and they were excited about having a bunch of us stay on just because we knew the park, obviously, and we knew how things went. So was an assistant there again for Brian Barkley. And then once Brian left, I became the head groundskeeper there. And so it's been just, years of learning by doing, learning from a lot of like great guys that have helped teach me. And even now, just like every year, I just try to pick up more. Now I'm trying to learn as much as I can from Elliot. Never too experienced or too old to learn something new.
Absolutely. Uh, so any aspirations to make it down the highway to Boston, or are you happy with?
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. Like I've been here now for a few years. I enjoy I enjoy Worcester. I really enjoy everyone that we're working with. Like, so you gotta understand the team that I came from. We had a front office of, at the time when I left, there was 5 of us. And I would say now, like in Worcester, we have like 60 or something like that front office members. So it's still like completely like new to me, like just like being and having that much like support and people to go to. And they might not like it, but a lot of people to pluck and come help us pull tarp when we need to. So yeah, down the road, we'll have to see. I don't know, for better or worse, I can kind of get tunnel vision and I kind of just focus on day-to-day stuff. And then like at the end of each year, I kind of have to sit back and look at like where everything is going. But I'm excited for this year. I'm in Worcester for this year.
Good. Opening day is coming up. Opening day for the WooSox in Worcester is when? April.
Our first home game is April 2nd. The
Okay.
team comes in, I believe, the 25th. And then we have workouts on the 26th, 27th. And then they go out on the road for 3 games before coming back. But the Worcester Red Sox Polar Park home opener is April 2nd.
So, it's wintertime in New England. Anybody who has a lawn knows exactly what the winter does to it. And I'm sure that it's no different at Polar Park. What kind of special things do you have to do to after a New England winter to get the grass and everything else squared away and
Yeah.
hopefully like you don't have any late March snowstorms to screw it all up.
Yeah, that happened to us last year. We had an early March or late February, early March snowstorm. And what we do in that case, we just did it last week to get rid of the snow. You can see it on our Instagram page and I think maybe Twitter as well. I think I posted it. We go out and throw dark green sand across the entire field, and the sun kind of the darkness of the green sand attracts the sun. It'll melt the snow a lot faster. And so we did that last year, and then we had that mid-March storm again. We had to do it again. The second time wasn't as bad. We basically just hit kind of our shaded area in right field that doesn't get as much sun. So we just hit that part. But yeah, we're literally this week and the next over the weekend, we're in the process now. We're putting out our field blankets over the entire field. We've done it just the infield before and foul. We've done it just the outfield, but this week we're doing everything. So
they're talking snow for Tuesday. So yeah,
that's we got to get it down. We want to get it finished by Sunday so that we double check, make sure all those sod staples are in, nothing like blows off before we get any some snow on Sunday. But that basically just kind of like acts like a thermal little layer for the grass, kind of kicks it out of dormancy, heats it up a little bit faster so that when we do take them off, it's a very distinct difference. And again, like if you scroll back to probably last March, there was a post on Instagram where you could see the difference of where we had the blankets and where we didn't. It was like one was just a lush dark green, and the other one looked, like you said, how most lawns would look like in New England in wintertime. So that's what we're doing right now to kind of help us when we kind of get out of winter, hopefully soon.
So when you put those blankets down, is it more difficult taking them up than it is to say the normal tarp, or is it just
yeah, well, the normal tarp, it just goes over the infield, and these are like massive. Like one of them, I think the ones we did today were like 110 by 190 feet. So it's a puzzle. There's about 6 or 7 of them that go in the outfield, 1 on the infield, 1 on each side of the foul territory. It's more difficult to put them out just because they need to be very precise, like a puzzle where they are. They can't overlap too much. If they overlap too much, it almost works like too much, and you'll see like streaks where it's like darker green colors of the grass. So they have to be like basically like butted up right against each other. And then we end up putting like 1,000 sod pins in, because like basically every foot we put a pin down along the edges. And then we go and do the same thing across the seams in the middle. So it's definitely more time consuming. Like we can take the normal rain tarp that you would see during a game. We can take that off in like a minute or two,
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. Maybe a little bit more once we start folding it and getting it against the wall. But the actual process of taking it off, assuming it did rain and there's a lot of rain on it,
which can get a little heavy.
It holds a lot of rain. So we got to dump it. We bring it all the way to the outfield wall. Then we bring it all the way back to make sure it's back to its original spot. And then we kind of fold it accordion style, roll it up, put it against the wall. So, maybe taking it off is probably, if we are in a rush, like if it was like, okay, a game is about to start, we could probably do it in like 5 or 6 minutes, and putting it out is probably about like 80 to 90 seconds or so.
Really? Okay. Wow, that's pretty good.
Hopefully, yeah. From the time the ump gives us the call, we've timed it, and we have kind of fire drills each year with the staff members so that they know exactly what they're doing. And we've timed it, and we've gotten into about 90 seconds or so for unrolling it, everybody grabbing a handle, pulling it on. There's a little bit more time after that where we then have to stake it down. But as far as protecting the field, like getting the tarp on in the rain, we can do it in about 80 to 90 seconds.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You're a good man. So, you've been doing this a while. What's the weirdest or scariest thing that you've seen when you've been doing this?
Weirdest or scariest? It's probably not grounds crew related, but before most parks now have they have like the netting, basically all foul territory, like foul pole to foul pole and foul territory. But in Norwich, we didn't really have that because back in the day, it was before it was like necessary. And there's been a couple times where I've seen some fans.
Really?
Thankfully, they were all okay. But when it happens and you can hear the sound, that can be pretty scary. Weirdest, I remember there was a game in Norwich. So in Norwich, minor league baseball is kind of like you do everything. And when I was in Norwich, when I was done setting the field up, I would then go up to the press box, and I was doing the music during the games. And then after the game, I'd go back down and like become a groundskeeper again. There was one game when it was the Connecticut Tigers. And so in Norwich, we're in the woods. We're up like on top of a industrial park. Outfield is just all woods in the back. And it was the 9th inning. And one of the people in the press box, my friend Ed, he was our PA announcer. He's like, "What is that in center field?" And I was like, "I don't know. Like, it was something was like moving around. I thought it was a bag at first. I got my binoculars out, and there was a skunk on the warning track, going around the warning track, and it was like a 1-run game. And I'm thinking, like, I started talking, like, press box can be pretty weird in of itself. Some odd conversations, but I remember asking guys like, okay, you're the center.
What do we do?
The ball sent over your head. You can either catch it and end the game, but you have to run into the skunk. Like, what are you doing? And I think the consensus was regular season. They're like, heck with it. I'm not going near the skunk. I'll throw my hands up or whatever. But they were like, if it was a playoff game, that would something that would kind of be pretty memorable to go and make a catch. Right on top of a skunk. So that might be one of the weirder ones that I remember.
That is terrific. I can't imagine being a center fielder out there going, "Whoa, hi there."
Yeah, and so then after the game, all of our lights you had to turn the scoreboard so I would be the last one to leave, so I would turn the scoreboard off, turn the lights off, and thankfully in Norwich I can do it in Worcester we can do it. Elliot and I can do it from our phones. We can turn the lights on and off from our phones. Awesome. So if we're out there working late, we can turn the lights on or off. In Norwich, though, you had to go out back to turn the switch off. So I'm like, oh man, like, I don't want to go back there. Like I've seen deer and some other animals out there before, because we would shoot the fireworks from over there. But that day I took a vehicle out there instead of walking, and I was not stopping. I was like pulled up, shut it, and just peeled out to get the heck out of there.
That's a terrific story. So, I'm sure you've seen a lot of baseball games through the years. What was your favorite moment when you saw something happen in a baseball game? You go, hey, wow, I'm glad I'm watching.
Yeah, so I have maybe about 2 or 3 that stick out. One was back in Norwich. It was when we were with San Francisco, and there was a grand slam hit there by someone. I'll say who it was. I don't know. Like Red Sox fans might have a different opinion of him, but at the time he was a big deal, and that was Pablo Sandoval. When Pablo was with us in Norwich, he was like such a fan favorite. Big guy, always smiling, and it was easy to chant his name, so kids would, Pablo. And there was one game where he came up, and the first pitch, to this day, it's one of the loudest sounds I've ever heard when he hit it. We were very much a pitcher's park in Norwich, and he hit that thing like over a light tower in right field. Like the second it was off the bat, you were like, oh my God, like that thing is going to like go to the Foxwoods. Like it's going to like sail. So that was one of the crazier ones that I've seen. More recently getting to watch, like when Chris Sale pitched there, that was one of the biggest crowds I've ever seen, for like a minor league game. So
I got a chance to see him on 2 rehab assignments up here in Hadlock.
Yeah.
So that's special. I did see Big Papi here too on
and I did get to talk with him a little bit, because like he was really cool that he never really experienced the minors a lot. So his whole thing is like, nope, I'm gonna be traveling with the I'm gonna just go on the bus with the guys. And so he was there one day, usually before he was even announced for a start. He would kind of come by to just throw some side sessions or long toss. And he was out doing some long tossing where you kind of simulate, throw for a little bit, go sit in the dugout for a little bit, go out there, throw. And so I was the only one really out there that day working. I was working on some stuff on the infield. And so I was just kind of out of his way by the dugout, and he came and we were chatting, and he was asking about the tarp, and it's like, oh, what's going on over there at first base? I was like, oh, there was like a little issue with the tarp. And he kind of joked. He's like, well, if I paid for a new one, if you put my face on it and I paid for it, could you do that? I'm like, if you give us a new tarp, you can put a picture of like whatever you want, like on it. So
yeah, put the whole family on. You don't care.
Yeah, he was really cool to talk with. So that was pretty memorable. And then another one is, so if you're familiar, so the mayor of Worcester basically is Ryan Fitzgerald. It was like very, very popular. He just signed with Kansas City, but we were really friendly with him. And we kind of started this thing a couple of years ago where anytime a WooSox player would hit a home run, when they're rounding second, they're coming right at us because we're right on the side, like right by the third base bag. And we just started giving everybody that would hit a home run, we would just start giving them a thumbs up. We'd stand up in our little thing and give them a thumbs up, waiting for it to like catch on. And he did notice it. And he's like, oh, my next home run, I'm going to give you guys a thumbs up back. And we kept like tweeting at him. That was late in the year though, of 22. And he was I think he was a little dinged up that year. So he didn't hit one that time. But then when we saw him the next year, he's like, I got you guys. Don't worry. I'm going to get you a thumbs up this time. And then he did hit one and he forgot. He was rounding the bases. It's posted somewhere on Twitter or Instagram. One of our guys was like, oh, Fitzy, that's it. We're done with you. Because simultaneously we started, David Hamilton was playing, and he's a Texas guy, and we would give him like the horns.
Oh yeah.
And he did do it back to us. So we're like, oh, sorry, Fitzy, you lost your chance. But the next day after he hit that one and forgot, he told one of the other coaches, he's like, oh my God, I've never felt worse after hitting a home run, because he knew that he told us he was going to give us a thumbs up. So then the next day, as luck would have it, he hit another one and just gave us big, like double thumbs up. There's like videos and pictures of it. And then it became a thing where a few guys would do it every time they'd hit a home run. We'd give them a thumbs up as they were rounding third, and they would give one back to us. So that's kind of like a fun story. I know the guys on the crew got a real kick out of it. So it's just one of those kind of fun things that you kind of remember, that sticks out in your head.
Oh, it's special. I mean, you're making connections, and you're making it fun. I mean, it's a game.
It's a long, hard job. You need to have those little kind of things and then during the game, that's like our only chance to really sit down a lot of times, Right. So you got to have those moments to keep it light when you're there 15, 16 hours a day in the heat or the rain or whatever.
Now, I know, were you there for the triple play? I mean, that's got to be something, sit there and go, what did I just watch?
Yeah, I don't remember. If I was, I might have been out doing something else, to be honest with you, because it doesn't like stick out in my mind. So
Okay.
I might have been going to get something to eat or
Yeah.
something like that.
So between innings, I mean, we talk to players all the time, and especially the guys in the bullpen, and they talk about some of the things that they do. I mean, between innings, you're busy because obviously you're the drag in the field or doing something, or there's a promotion on the field, and you're having to deal with that. But during the game, I mean, I know you're watching the game, but what's the kind of interaction between the crew with each other during that time?
Yeah, you'd be surprised how little of the game we watch sometimes. We're definitely so pitcher batter, we're probably watching all the time, make sure nobody slips or anything like that. But
Right.
you are 100% right. That's when more shenanigans happen, like just the constant. It's like something you see like just kind of typical bar room discussions, just like weird, like, oh, what do you think is like, would you rather live with no knees or no elbows? And it becomes like this weird like conversation. And we would post it on Twitter all the time. Like, oh, today's dugout debate is, are you like team real Christmas tree or fake Christmas tree? Our biggest one that we ask every single new person that comes on the crew is if they are bone-in wings or boneless wings. And that is something that we ask everyone. We have had very strong opinions on it. It's one of the videos, I think the episode like 2 or 3 of the YouTube series focuses a lot about that. But there's a lot of stuff like that. We're very sensitive about somebody saying the word pace. Like, oh boy, this game's going at a good pace, because we just want to get out. We want every game to be 8.5 innings. WooSox win, and we're out of there a half an inning faster. So we started doing a thing where if somebody mentioned that it was like, oh man, boy, it's already the 5th inning, and then if runs scored that inning, that person has to do push-ups in our little tunnel area. So yeah, we have a lot of things like that. There was one, actually, I should have mentioned it for one of the better memories. During the no-hitter at Polar Park,
right.
we kind of, so the typical no-hitter, they leave the pitcher alone. They kind of, he's sitting off to the side, arm wrapped and stuff like that. So one of the guys on our crew, Steven Snedeker, we call him Sneds. He's like the star of every YouTube show. Like he's like just like such a character. He did the mound that day, so he got the mound ready that day. So we're like, oh man, like your mound there's no hits, and you did the mound. So in the video, I think it's called like the rise and fall of Sneds or something like that. We treat him like the pitcher. He's sitting off to the side. He's holding his tam. He's got his arm wrapped up. And then we have video of like, it was a diving catch to save the no hitter. We started, instead of water, we were dumping like bags of dirt on him and water. And he was like celebrating like he was the pitcher. So those are the things that can kind of happen. Like every day is some other weird sports debate or some weird like just crazy debates and stuff like that. And we'll tweet it out like, yeah, like today's dugout debate is whatever, some pop culture thing or something like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I can't even imagine. So that's because you have to be ready for something to come up, but in the meantime, you got to keep yourself occupied, or it's like
you figure 75 games, you're sitting there, right. Like it's a lot. Like, don't get me wrong, it's awesome, like getting to watch like such high quality baseball and stuff like that. But yeah, there's some times where it's like the game's dragging. It's late April, it's like 40 degrees.
Oh yeah,
12-2, and you're like, oh my god, what are we doing? And then like, yeah, somebody will say something or do something, and then all of a sudden it just becomes like a debate, like a Jordan LeBron debate or this, that, or debate. And then it just spirals out of control. And then before you know it, the game's done and it worked.
Yeah, it makes the time go pretty quickly.
Yes.
So you've seen an awful lot of players roll through there. In a foot race, who would win? Jaron Duran or David Hamilton?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I will say, I'm guessing it would be Duran, but I don't know. It'd be pretty close. I don't know if we're talking like foot race, like around the bases, or just straight on like 100-meter or something like that. But it would be interesting. It'd be better than the race that two of our grounds crew guys had during batting practice, where the other team was just kind of like laughing at them when they were going to take. They went to bring a screen out and they're like, "Hey, want to race back to the warning track?" And they were going, and the other team was like, "What is going on?"
Memories for some of the opposing club.
Yeah.
You're going to probably get a chance to see some of the organization's top prospects come up there.
Yeah,
I've had it's been really great for me. I lived less than half an hour from Hadlock, and I try to go up there as much as I can. So it's been really fun for me to watch these guys play. You might get a chance to, see maybe at the beginning of the year, and certainly by the middle of the season and at the end of the season, you're going to see probably the core, most of them, if not all of them.
Mm-hmm.
As I'm sure you love baseball, what is, how excited are you to see that? I mean, if you follow baseball.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm excited. I'm a lifelong Red Sox fan. I grew up in Connecticut, but I'm like in the quiet corner part of Connecticut. So like that very northeast. I'm like literally right on the Mass line. So we're all Boston fans, like from where I'm from. So that has been one of the cooler. I was a little nervous actually at first, like when I first started working with the WooSox, thinking like, oh man, like you get to know some of the players and they're kind of like 99% of them are great, but sometimes when you're like with them a lot, you're like, you just kind of see other sides and stuff like that. And there's been none of that with the WooSox. So I as a Red Sox fan, like I'm like, oh man, these guys are awesome. It's even easier to root for them, but I'm excited just because like we've seen like some kind of like down couple of years, and it's nice to have like some of those like kind of prospects with some like real legitimate like hype behind them, and like getting to watch them and progress. Like you mentioned Jarren Duran, that first year in 2021, he was like a one-man highlight show. Like every single game, he was just 500-foot bombs, like clearing everything. It was like so exciting, so that's why it's great to see some of those younger kids, like if Mayer gets up there, or Teal, like whomever kind of makes their way over throughout the year. It's fun to actually see like some like, oh, you know what? First of all, I like this guy. Like I see him every day and I can talk with him. He's a nice guy, but also it's like fun, like as a baseball fan, as a Red Sox fan, to kind of follow him along. Because to be honest, I see them more in Worcester than I do in Boston, because we're obviously working during Red Sox games. So it's tough to keep track of a lot of things that are going on at Fenway. So it's nice to see them when I can in Worcester.
You've been around baseball a lot, and you've worked with several organizations. You talked about working in the, the Giant, when the Giants were in Norwich, and then subsequently the Tigers were there, and now you're with the Red Sox. How does the Red Sox organization differ from most organizations?
Yeah, so I mean, I can only really speak on the minor league level of it. Obviously, like when we were with the San Francisco affiliate, that's a tough thing on the East Coast over here. Like all their other minor,
you couldn't be further away, right?
All their literally every other minor league team was over there, so we're not getting any rehab assignments or anything like that. Not as Detroit was a little bit better when they were in town in Norwich, because there are some kind of Detroit fans in the area. But as far as speaking it just on, so I've worked in single A, double A, and triple A, and I don't even really like calling the WooSox triple A. They are much closer to being run like Boston. Like we hear it all the time. Like this is how it is at Fenway. This is how it is in Boston. And with like leadership from Dr. Charles Steinberg, Larry Lucchino, guys that have like such long histories with Boston, of course, they're going to bring that professionalism here. So I say at worst, I kind of, the term 4A player,
right?
That's what I kind of count us as. We're a 4A like organization. Like we are run above a lot of other AAA teams we're basically run like a major league team. So it's been eye-opening coming from, like I said, 5, 6, 7 person front office to this, which is just like everybody's on top of everything. For me, it's a little confusing. Like if I have a question, like, oh man, like what's the correct avenue to go to here? But there's a few people that I kind of can trust and I can go to, that if they're not going to help me, I can at least ask, like, hey, who's the best person to go to for this? Because in Norwich, I would just, like, I was friends with my GM. I would just go to him like for anything that I would need, whether it was like a budget thing or ordering something or question about something. It was basically him and I just working together. Over here, there's so many people, which helps us be run a lot smoother. But sometimes when I have a question, I got to stop and be like, wait, I don't want to bother this person. I got to make sure I go to the right person. So yeah, it's night and day. It's run extremely, extremely professionally. Very good group of, the staff is really, really good.
Cool. Yeah, I know you've helped out. I know you've helped Written DC out a lot. I know he's helped Written DC out a lot. Joe Bradley, talk about him and your interactions with him, because he's certainly helped out the podcast a great deal. So
I've worked with Joe on a few things. The main things I can remember, like working with Joe, is obviously a lot of stuff with like the foundation. He comes, and so we have like a kids camp throughout the year where we have like 5, 6 more Saturdays where kids will come and they'll get coaching from the WooSox players and coaches, stuff like that. And he's always down there doing that. Like he's great for like just like the community partnership in Worcester. He's been amazing doing those things. So I see him a lot with those types of things. A couple of maybe pregame type of things he might come by and help with. And then the other real thing that I would see him a lot is he comes down and helps with the tarp a lot. And that's another thing I should mention. Like our front office is real, like that's the beauty of having so many people, is it's not just the grounds crew putting the tarp on. Like minor league baseball, it's usually always like the front office coming down to help. So we will send out a big group text message like, hey, we're looking at doing the tarp at this time, and we'll get everybody coming down there. And Joe's one of the guys that's down there a lot. We have like maybe 8 to 12 like core guys and girls, I should say, that are down there that come and help us like at a drop of a hat. Like there was one time where Elliot and I, we debated putting the tarp on, and we thought, you know what? It looks like it's only like a 5 or 10% chance of rain. And then we woke up and realized that 5 or 10% was not very accurate. It was going to be a lot more, and it was going to rain. And we put a call out at 5 a.m, and we've got, I'll mention their names, but we had Hannah Butler showed up, Sarah Barlock, and Dan Fontaine, plus some of their family members to come and help us when we were in a bind. At 5 a.m, they came out and helped us. And those are 3 of, there's a lot more. I feel bad not mentioning everybody. But those are 3 of the main ones that are down there no matter what, every single time. So we got there, we put the tarp on, we went and got breakfast down the road, and then it ended up like not raining for like another 2 hours or 3 hours. But it was like, it was one of those ones where like, it's really close to us. We need to put the tarp out just in case, because it was a game morning. So, but yeah, that's Joe is one of the guys that's down there a lot to come and help. So.
Speaking of you guys, I mean, I know you're kind of rolling the boat yourself tonight. Any of the guys you want to give a shout out to, particularly the full-time guys?
Yeah. So, well, for guys on my crew that I'll give a shout out for, and I'm going to leave a lot. I'll try to get as many as I can. But I'll mention the guys that were there this morning, the last couple days in the cold. And that's Steven Snedeker, Griffin LaPasta, Dan Turgeon, Josh Fleming. They're great. Marino is, I'm going to mispronounce his name. I'm not even going to try. The other guys will make fun of me for it. But Marino is he started last year and was one of our go-to guys. In the past, we've had guys like Andrew Targi, Jesse Alexander, Jordan Allen. Who am I missing? Some of the better ones, Matt O'Connor. We've had a lot of guys that have been there for multiple years that have come and helped out a lot. So I know sometimes the grounds crew, we kind of feel like we're out of sight, out of mind. A lot of people think it's just, yeah, you show up, mow, rake, and play ball. But like I mentioned to you before, it's a lot of long, tough hours. So sometimes we kind of feel like it's basically like we're our own family, you know?
Mhm.
So they don't get nearly the credit they deserve. So if I'm want to mention as many of them as I can. Like I said,
Sure.
I'm missing some out. Don't have the best memory as I get a little older, but they deserve so much credit for some of the hard work and hours that they put in, that they come and help us. And you can't have a game without them. You
No.
know, you can't sell concessions, you can't have events without the field, you can't sell tickets without the game. So they are such an important part of the organization. So I'm glad that we can kind of come on your show and give a little light to some of the work that those guys do.
All right. So a couple of quick things and we'll wrap it up. As I look behind you, I am staring at what looks to be close to maybe 50 to 100 medals on the wall.
Yeah, I've got
are
about
those?
20 that I haven't put up there yet from about the last couple of some other races that I've done in Florida recently. But yeah, I'm a big runner.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so let's see, over here, these are all my like Boston BAA races. There's a Boston Marathon one in there.
Mhm.
The ones up top over here are so at Disney, they have a racing challenge called the Dopey Challenge. So
Okay.
it's 4 days in a row of a 5K, a 10K, a half marathon, and then a marathon in 4 consecutive days. So that's what those are. I've done that 4 times. And then these other ones are just other random like races and stuff like that. And this one right here is my Boston Marathon medal. And
Oh, cool.
actually, funny you mentioned that. I'm actually running the Boston Marathon this April as part of the Red Sox Foundation's charity team. So
Excellent.
raising money for that. If anybody's listening or watching, if you go to the Grounds Crew Twitter account, which is just WooSox Grounds, you can see I have some information on there. If anybody wants to support, all the money goes to the Red Sox Foundation, which is a great charity. But yeah, sorry to throw a little plug in there, but yeah, that's big runner.
We should give our guests a chance to plug whatever they want at the end, and you still get a chance to do it. So for any of our listeners tonight, or the people who watch a little bit later as they get a chance to watch it on YouTube, if there's interested in perhaps helping out at Polar Park, talk how would they go about doing that?
Yeah, so you can apply on if you go to the WooSox website, one of the little tabs up top will do like job opportunities, and you go in there, click on job opportunities, and one of the tabs on there will be for grounds crew, and you can fill something out there. You can, if somebody wants to, they could email me. My email is rleffler, so it's RLEFLER, and that's at WooSox.com. Easiest way is probably just do it through the website. You don't have to remember my name or anything like that.
Okay.
So yeah, like I said, we're kind of wrapping up now, but we are still taking some interviews. So if anyone has even if you don't have like a big professional landscaping background, if you have a personal one, like helping your family out, like family lawns, family stuff, if you can do like little things like that, we can teach. We can teach the majority of the stuff that guys will be doing. We mainly look for a little bit of a landscaping background, either personally or professionally. We just want hard workers that can come in and kind of spend a summer outside. And we work hard, but we do try to keep it light, as you can see from some of the stories and some of the videos and our social medias and stuff like that. So I think it's a great job. Like I said, some of the guys I mentioned earlier by name, they're coming back now for their second, third, fourth seasons. So I think, not to pat myself on the back too much, and Elliot and myself, but I think we're doing something right, that guys want guys want to keep coming back, because it's, like I said, it's a tough job. It's 14, 15-hour days in the rain and the heat and the sun. But guys want to keep coming back, and if they want to keep coming back, we'll keep bringing them back.
Excellent. I know you promoted your run for the Boston Marathon. Anything else you want to promote while you're here, or any of the charity that you're involved in?
Yeah, just we'll obviously support the WooSox. We got tickets on sale. Come, check it out. We have fans that sit right behind us that they just come and talk to us. We know some of the fans so much because they're season ticket members that sit right behind us,
right.
And we've formed relationships with them. They bring us gifts after the season. Some of the fans made a book, a little a photo book of they take pictures of us. They come and talk to us. We're legit. We go bowling with some of them, and we're legitimate friends with some of the fans. So come to a game if you want. Come say hello to us. We're right by the third base dugout. We're always talking, so yeah, just come and say hello. And if you want, follow the WooSox Grounds on Twitter. It's WooSox Grounds on everything. So Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And I promise we'll have some more videos this year on YouTube. But WooSox Grounds, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube.
Excellent. Ryan, I really want to thank you very much for coming on the program tonight. We had a blast talking baseball, talking about your experiences in Worcester. Again,
I had a great time too. A little nervous, never really done it before, anything like that, or nothing like this in depth. I did a podcast with the WooSox Insider before, but it was really fun doing this. And schedule gets a little more busy during the year, but if you guys ever want to do something else again, and we can just talk, I'm sure there's plenty of stuff we could have talked about. So if you ever need anything else, I can get some other guys with me too that can kind of show a different kind of point of view as well.
Excellent. Well, again, thank you very much. Before we go, I want to remind everybody that you can follow us on the @Pesky Podcast or the @Pesky Party Hour. You can find us there. You can also, we're all part of the BSN, Boston Sports Entertainment Network family. In closing, again, I want to say, Ryan, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Very welcome. Glad to help.
I'm George, the OG Sutherland, and this has been your latest version of the Pesky Podcast.